Good morning, Yorktown. It is Friday, the 13th of March. This is an emergency town board meeting. I'm going to begin by asking everyone, as always, to silence your cell phones and then rise to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're also going to ask for a moment of silence, a quick prayer for our community and surrounding communities, especially keeping in our prayers our first responders during this trying time. Thank you. We're going to do introductions quickly, starting with our town clerk.
Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Vishnu Patel, Yorktown Councilman.
Alice Roker, Councilperson.
Matt Slater, Town Supervisor.
Ed Lachterman, Councilman.
Robert Noble, Chief of Police.
Tom, why don't you do that again?
Tom Diana, Councilman.
Appearing by video conference.
Councilman Diana is appearing via video conference, and we also have to our left
Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
Dave Paganelli, Highway Superintendent.
Fantastic. So this is an emergency meeting that was called specifically to discuss the public health emergency that we are facing here in Yorktown. I do have a few quick remarks that I want to share. As we saw yesterday, things are moving incredibly quickly pertaining to COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus. We expect significant changes to be coming on a daily and possibly hourly basis. But we are committed to providing any and all information that is, of course, accurate and verified and within the bounds of the law. To members of the media, they've been great, our local media here, but please just continue to verify any information that may or may not be coming from town government before publicizing it. We continue to support social distancing practices. Under the direction of Governor Cuomo, public places are now limited to 50% occupancy of their capacity. We continue to be in hourly contact with our school superintendents, who I already spoke to this morning, our partners in local government, especially over at the county and the State Department of Health, our business leaders, and as you see here, of course, our emergency personnel. And I also want to recognize Judge Sal Lagonia is joining us. Judge, do you want to grab a chair and come up? Why don't you come up? Why don't you come up?
No, there's one chair.
We could sit him right next to Diana. Why don't you just grab a chair and sit right next to Diana? And we've been in touch, of course, with Judge Lagonia and Judge Raniola as they continue to do a great job managing our court system. I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. This really is an unprecedented situation, and unfortunately, and I know that I keep hearing birds chirping from Tom sitting in his backyard. It's a bit distracting. But unfortunately, the reality is, and we've heard from residents, and so I want to be clear, the information that we're sharing is not necessarily real time, but it's the most recent and valid information that we are able to share. I think that's very important for folks at home to understand. So I just want to recap a couple of things. We have one person who has been confirmed tested positive for COVID-19 in the town of Yorktown. Right now, the way this works is there's a protocol set forth by the Westchester County Department of Health. That individual's family and any known contacts are being tested. We do not know the results of those tests. We are awaiting the results of those tests as we speak. There is one person from Cortland, which could potentially impact the Lakeland School District, and again, awaiting the protocol test results to come in and be properly notified by the Department of Health on what those tests are. While we expect this information to be automated to all levels of government, there have been barriers, and we are trying to overcome those barriers with our partners. This includes specifically HIPAA. There's a conference call that I'll be on later this afternoon with local supervisors in the county executive's office. This has been ongoing, and we're hoping to have an approved solution to streamline this information to us on the board and that we can properly disseminate to the public. I also want to be crystal clear. We have not been notified. We have not been notified of any positive cases within our schools. No students have been tested positive or teachers that we have been notified of. And I also want to say that we will not, this board will not, nor my administration, govern based on social media rumors. I've explained several times the steps that town government has taken, and I'm just going to recap those again quickly. You see here in the boardroom and when you walk into town hall, we have sanitizer stations that have been installed on the walls, not just here at town hall, but all of our public buildings. And I want to thank Margaret, who's in the back, for taking lead on that. I believe we have 36, was it 36? 36 sanitizer wall mounts that have been installed across all of our town facilities. Our cleaning protocols remain in effect, and they have been for a while now. That includes our staff going around and wiping all doorknobs, light switches, and handrails 4 times daily, as well as cleaning as well as specific cleanings in the morning and in the evenings, and that remains in effect. Our nutrition center is closed until April 1st. Staff will be enhancing, and I want to thank Noreen O'Driscoll for doing such a great job enhancing our Meals on Wheels program to make sure that our seniors are getting the services they need and the food they need. All extracurricular activity at the Albert A. Cappellini Community and Cultural Center has been suspended until April 1st. Staff who enter occupied homes for inspections or repairs will only do so for emergencies until April 1st, and that specifically is geared towards our building department and also our water department. The John C. Hart Library is limiting its capacity to 30 people at a time, 30 patrons at a time during operating hours, and they will be closed on Sundays for the rest of this month, and that is in effect until April 1st. All public hearings have also been postponed until April 1st, or until that first meeting in April.
You mean town board or?
Town board, planning board, all of them. I also want to just be clear that the town does not manage the testing process. We've received quite a few questions on that. So we're relying on our partners on the county, state, and federal levels to process those tests expeditiously. And again, hopefully we can overcome some of the legal barriers that allows us to get the real-time information that we're able to share, that verified and accurate information that we're able to share.
May I interpret here? Who will bear the cost of providing the health, after the detecting, the medical help? They will not get the bill? Yes.
The tests are all being done by the state.
No, after the test, people ask who will pay for the bill if they don't have a job, the money like
it's
that.
the individual. If they don't have I don't know clearly what the answer would be if you do not have health care. But if you have health care and you have health care insurance, obviously, it's the same process as it would be if you were normally sick.
And for those who don't, I think the federal government will be looking at a resolution on next week that might provide some relief.
And I just saw today State Senator Shelley Mayer had introduced legislation that would hold harmless our schools if they're closed for an extended period of time as well, which we're hoping that the state legislature and governor takes up. Lastly, I just want to say how truly proud I am of this community and our government. This is not a snowstorm. Frankly, I know Dave doesn't, but I wish it was. I wish it was a snowstorm because we've been through that before, but we've never been through something like this. This is a level of adversity we have not experienced in quite some time in this community. But as Yorktown always does so well, we lead from the front. And we're going to do everything we can to inform and protect our residents to the best of our abilities. And with that, I want to open it up to the board to discuss what next steps, if any, or if you have comments, and then we can discuss the next steps that we think.
Supervisor, if I could.
Yes, Councilman Diana.
I'm just thinking that, we have 2 more meetings basically left in the month, that we shouldn't cancel both of them. The last Tuesday is the 5th Tuesday where we generally don't have a meeting. Reevaluate and decide if we're going to have another town board meeting on the first Tuesday in April.
Councilman Diana is proposing canceling all town board meetings for the rest of the month of March. And I open it up to the board.
But
if Chief Noble, if you have, or we're in this together. So if you have comments, if the highway superintendent or town attorney have comments, Judge, I'm not sure how that would impact the courthouse, but this is what we're trying to do, is have this open dialogue and conversation so that folks know what direction we're heading in.
I think
Yeah, the only reason I even bring this up is because, we're, like myself, I had something over the past week. And somebody else could have something. It may not be the Corona-19, but, and if they come into the room and if they start coughing, I mean, we can ask them to leave, but it's still impacting our residents.
Yes.
So my thought was if we eliminate that possibility, we're eliminating one more public place to have this germ floating around.
Tommy, it's Alice, and I agree with you. I think we have to lead by example. We don't know what's yet to come.
That's the
Right.
concern.
And I am one of those people that's in that 20% group.
Right.
So therefore, depending on what happens in Yorktown, I'm not going to sit with people whom I don't know, have not interacted with people who might or might not have it. It's you don't want to ever panic anyone, but
Right.
you do want to give people the information you have right now. I think
I agree.
we have the ability, or Matt, you have the ability to come on daily
Yep.
and say, from yesterday to today,
Here's where we're at.
Here's where we're at.
And I'm
So-
happy to do that. I'm happy to provide, again, daily briefings with verified and accurate
I agree with you.
information.
I
I
agree with
will not govern based on rumors, and we've seen those coming. We need verified and accurate information confirmed by our partners in government that it is in fact the case.
I agree with you. I don't really look
And that's
at
a danger.
social media.
Right now we're streaming live on Facebook, and we've said also earlier, or I said yesterday, excuse me, that we should be taking advantage of modern technology to check in on our neighbors, because even though we're urging social distancing, we're not suspending social interaction. And so we need to find innovative ways to communicate with our neighbors and our loved ones. Those who are homebound, because there is a danger of, frankly, social depression because of what is going on and not having social interaction. So, but at the same time, I monitor Yorktown families. I see what people are saying, and a lot of times, I'm not saying there is no, but I've seen many posts that there's no basis to, and there's no confirmation of. And I'm not going to be reactive to rumors on social media when we have real partners in government who are providing real information, who we continue to talk to on an hourly basis.
I'm glad you said that. And the one thing that people can know for sure is that 24 hours a day, that man,
That's right.
our police chief, has the ability in his department, because they are 24/7. Anyone with a problem can call his local number. Bobby, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think I said that yesterday when we spoke, that if anybody's scared or has concerns, we may not have the answers, or we may not be able to mitigate the cause for concern, but you can call us at 962-40141. Somebody is going to answer the phone and try to do their best for you. I mean, that's what we're all about.
Or if they run out of food or whatever, you can get that message to the board, and we can find out how we can get something to them. So I'm talking about the person who may be quarantined in their home, who may not have food.
Right.
We will, if they call your number, we will make sure whatever they're looking for, if it's within our powers.
Of course. And the Nutrition Center, again, is, and things that you learn. I mean, the Nutrition Center in Yorktown doesn't just make food for Yorktown. They make food for Somers and North Salem as well. And so, our town is supporting a number of people, not just in our four walls.
Correct.
And I can tell you that, I've had conversations with our school superintendents about some of the families and kids who rely on our schools for their nutrition and their meals. And possibly, potentially, we're trying to figure out the legal barriers there, but including those folks, those kids and their families on the Meals on Wheels program. And I know Dave's going to be in the kitchen cooking all that food for us. And I just want to thank Chief Noble, genuinely, because his leadership and partnership has been incredible. He and I have been in hourly contact, if not more. And we share information, and before we bring it to the public, we make sure that we're on the same page. And having, that filter not just with Chief Noble, but of course Judge Lagonia, and all the elected officials here on the local level, and of course our partners in the county. I mean, it verifies the information that we're sharing. And that's what we really need to emphasize here, is the information you hear from our town government, from our police department, is verified information, not reactionary to, possibilities and rumors and unsubstantiated claims.
But you know what happens? We have 38,000 people and a surrounding community. So if it gets virus, he's not going to pardon nobody. Nobody has a power to pardon the virus.
Yeah.
But our own immune system will protect, and the town, government, and everybody else, we are ready to help any way we can. But if a large number of people require hospital help, then sometimes people ask, do we have enough supply, space available to go over there and all that? All these things are continuously discussed in the community. So we are ready, whatever we can, provide ourselves to this community.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we are all in this together, and we're going to make this place better than what we started up.
And I want to share some, there is finally statistics, and I say finally because we've been waiting for some of this, and this was from the governor's press conference yesterday. And this, of course, and I want to preface with, probably changed. But as of his press conference yesterday, and I say probably changed because this data is not real time, it's just a snapshot in time. The state reported 328 positive tests out of 2,314, which is essentially 14%. So we talk about 80-20. And Alice, you've identified, and I put Councilman Diana in that boat as well, that 20% of people, roughly, who could really be significantly impacted. And I think the tests that we're seeing from the state, and this is the first time that they've revealed how many tests, yesterday was the first time that they were able to quantify how many tests were done. In a sense, it is reassuring because it's not nearly as high as people had maybe perceived. But it's still obviously high enough that we need to take appropriate action and responsible action. And I think that's what we're trying to do here.
I have a question. Sal, how does this affect the court?
Well, courts, first of all, we've been in touch with OCA.
Pull that down for me.
With the Office of Court Administration for their advice, their directives, et cetera. They have been very slow to respond only because they have such a wide area at the state of New York. But we've taken some precautions at the court. One of the issues we have at the court is that criminal cases have a time limit that they need to be heard by. Give you an example, a felony case that comes into our court, a felon or an accused felon is entitled to a felony hearing in 144 hours. That's 6 days. So if we close court for a week, obviously we would be violating some due process rights. We have to be careful with that. Vehicle and traffic calendars by far are our most plentiful calendars where we have 200, 250 people in a room. And so what we decided to do yesterday, and it's effective as of yesterday, is that we're going to adjourn all of those cases for at least the end of the month. We are so far ahead on those cases that it's really not going to kill anybody for us to do that. And so we're really happy to do that.
Thank you.
And the chief, I know, was concerned about that yesterday. I had a long conversation last night with Judge Raniolo. He agreed with me. This is the best way to handle it. We have several jury trials. I felt it was not fair to subject the jury to anything that might be threatening, and so we have agreed. We've actually contacted counsel, and they've agreed to adjourn the cases to a date sometime in April or May. So those things are in the works. We've also had the disinfectant placed in our courtrooms. We're asking everybody to use it. OCA does have a sign that they require us to put on the outside of the courthouse. If anyone has been traveling from China or Italy or Iran or South Korea, they are not allowed in the courthouse, and they have to self-notify us. If they are in that category, they have to call our clerks, and our clerks now have a protocol of how to direct them going forward. Our court security personnel have all been given a briefing yesterday on the protocols, so how they can direct everyone else. We're also going to continue to monitor OCA because they have, like anyone else, they're changing as time goes on. What we're hoping for is that the chief judge of the state will extend the time of certain cases to be heard. And if that is done, that will give us a lot more flexibility on my level. I can order certain cases extended. I can't order a general change from what is in the statute.
Right.
So that's what we're looking at now.
So if we can just take a snapshot of the next 3 weeks, because that's what I think the town government is comfortable looking at, is the April threshold. So over the next 3 weeks, how much do you anticipate having at the courthouse? How much action and how many?
Very little. We had pre-planned for totally different reasons next Thursday's court calendar to be off the calendar.
Right.
So that's fine. There is a court calendar on Tuesday. We're not going to touch that at this point. What we're doing is triaging our cases, find out what the time constraints are on each case and how that fits into our program. If I can do a nightly court, which typically might have 100 or 150 cases, if we can do 10 that are critical, then we can separate people in the courtroom from distances, and that would be much more protective at that point. That's being done today. We're actually looking at the timelines on each of those cases. We have an inordinate amount of felony cases before the court right now. They have much more restrictive timelines. Again, I would love to see the chief judge move those lines, but if not, we will hold extra court sessions, which will have the effect of having smaller crowds in the courtroom.
So you'll be here with Matt as your information changes with regard to
We're going to
those.
stay in close contact, and I appreciate we had a very long conversation last night, and we're going to, and with the chief as well, to stay close together, work together on this thing, and get this done. And you know what? This too will pass, and we have it, but we owe it. We are the leaders, and we owe it to the town.
Exactly.
Let me just say, you just say that we get closing down is a great thing. But any public place, like, you go to the store to buy food or something, somebody is entering it, you cannot tell this person has a virus in the body. Incubation time is, up to 5-7 days, maybe even 10 days. And then if they have another thing in your own body and can accelerate. So it's very difficult, really. We have a situation we have, So what we do is, the best we can do is whatever we have.
And that's what we're here to discuss.
Yeah, and that's our aim to
Vishnu, I think part of the plan here is let's see what we can do to social distance
Yes.
as much as possible.
Yes.
Let's make sure we're on universal precautions. Let's follow. Look, coronavirus is a flu. Now, flus are serious. We have almost 51 to 52,000 deaths a year from the flu. So it's very serious. But there are steps we could take and procedures, and it's just so much more critical. And in all stages of our life and our businesses, I'm sure, I own a business that is very hands-on, literally. It's a massage studio. So we are taking I figured you'd appreciate that, Tommy. We're taking extreme precautions. We sanitize everything hourly, and where we would do it 2-3 times a day, now it's all day, all the time. Every handle, every surface. And when you go to the store, it's the same thing. They have the wipes usually. They may be out. Rub a little of Purell in your hands, put it on the cart. Do the things that are going to keep you safe. And that's...
And let's make this really clear. It's not only for ourselves. We're members of this community.
Correct.
We owe it to the next person
Correct.
to do all of these
That's
things.
all what it's about.
There should be no panic. There should be no craziness about this. But we owe it to the next person to at least take those precautions. And, I just flew back from Nashville on Sunday, and my wife wipes down everything on the airplane as we go. She was doing that 8 months ago. That's just normal things
Exactly.
you do
Yeah.
to not get a cold or not get a flu as well.
Yeah, my wife with our 2 kids, same thing. We've had hand sanitizers in every car, and wipes, and the minute you get in the car, wiping our hands, you getting home, and same deal. Taking your shoes off and not tracking anything into the house.
Right,
I mean, those, it seems simple and it seems basic, but, those are,
Effective.
and again, I have a 4-year-old son, we had a newborn, and he calls it the handitizer because he can't say hand sanitizer. And so he's got it like attached to his hip, basically, is making sure that, before he touches the babies, we're putting hand sanitizer on all of our hands and so on and so forth. But those are just basic steps that now we're just having to reinforce. And by doing that, to the judge's point, it's not just protecting us or you individually, it's protecting everyone around you, and that's what we're trying to do.
It was difficult for me yesterday when I had to go into New York to see a doctor, and my son was with me, And every time when we were getting near a door, he said, "Mommy, don't forget
Yeah.
to use the we have brought a paper towel with me. Don't forget to use the towel."
towel.
Yeah.
I had some gloves on as well because I knew I'd forget at some point. But it is really the right thing to always do.
Absolutely.
And to Sal's point, or Judge Lagonia's point, Councilman Diana is doing the right thing today.
Absolutely.
He is
You know,
doing the right thing.
you know-
Thank you, Councilman Diana,
Thank
for,
you.
and I'm just want to say how impressed I am that he actually figured out how to get the
The video
FaceTime on.
conference, yes.
How about that, huh?
Well, to be fair, I called him. He just picked up.
Oh, there you go. Adam did all the hard work.
All right.
Fred Flintstone over there. We got you, Fred.
Okay.
But that's a big thing, and I've had to adjust schedules. I had someone with the sniffles, and it's like, don't come in.
Right.
And it's we
I
do the
agree.
right thing. It is for the community. It's not for the single person.
So we have a couple of things that I think we need to address. This way, I don't want to just belabor the point. Councilman Diana had recommended canceling the town board meeting, rest of the town board meetings for the month of March. I also think that we should be canceling, and I spoke with John Tegeter about this, our town planner, for the planning board as well. The planning board only has one meeting left. They seem very confident that they can just pick up in April. So in addition to the town board meetings, I would recommend that we suspend all of our volunteer entities as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so, with that being said, so I think we should before we put the resolutions forward, though, in regards
So moved.
well, before we do that, what? Jumping the gun over there, Fred.
So moved.
Before we do that, there is another item, though. And if we're going to suspend town board meetings, I think we need to have a conversation about, and I can do this unilaterally, but I'd rather have a conversation with the board, openly and honestly. But I think that we should consider a declaration, an emergency declaration,
Yes.
which would allow the town to continue to function, decisions to be made, and without having to call emergency meetings like we had to today.
But I think it is very
Absolutely.
important we know at the board and those who are in a department head should know exactly if there is a need, we should be able to have an emergency meeting.
Of course, and I'm not saying we're not
And,
going.
yes,
Absolutely.
and then everybody should be in a loop, and that's agreeable.
And I think I can tell you, I think personally and with our staff, we've been very forthcoming to the board with information as we have it. At least that's our intention, as well as to the public. And so if we're not going to have town board meetings, though, frankly, we need to be able to make decisions if it comes to that point without calling emergency meetings. So I would ask the board to also support a resolution authorizing me to sign an emergency declaration.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Have you looked at virtual meetings? Have you considered?
So there's teleconferencing. There's teleconferencing that we're allowed to do, but it's still there.
I have to tell you, Matt, I've talked to him every day, sometimes twice a day. I am comfortable with the information that he provides to me, and as Vishnu said, at any point we can get together. But I think the fact is, we have the mechanism for Matt to be able to speak to the town residents every day, to say, this is where we are today. That is one of the beauties of the government channel.
Right. And that plus live streaming allows us to provide, like to Alice's point, all the information all the verified and accurate information we can on a
Correct.
daily basis when we have it.
And not for nothing, Matt, I am on the forefront of the live streaming. You realize this,
I did, yes. Thank you, Councilman Diane.
okay?
I did like
It would be, it's Mr. Rodriguez, yes? It is an Article 2B declaration. So, again, I would ask the board to entertain a resolution authorizing me to do that as well, and I can sign it
Second.
today.
Yeah, I'll move. Yeah, Tommy moved all.
Tommy moved it, I seconded.
Tommy, you moved the third one as well.
Yes.
Fourth
Okay.
one,
Okay, so we have several resolutions. So the first resolution is proclaiming a local state of emergency in the town of Yorktown, authorizing the supervisor to sign said emergency declaration. And we have a first, a second, a third, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so I will do this right now. Borrow your pen.
I feel like I'm with the great and powerful Oz,
There you go.
You're right, right, right.
the man behind the curtain.
And I just also want to, if we can, I'm going to be sharing some information via email and on social media, exactly what it means for us to institute a proclamation declaring or signing a declaration of emergency. Nothing's changing. Operationally for the town, nothing's changing. The town is open. The town is working. Our employees are working unless they are feeling under the weather. The governor has already declared a state of emergency. I was on the phone with the county executive's office late last night, and they are looking at potentially doing the same because of, again, from an operational standpoint, it allows the government to continue to operate, and that's what we're looking to do. There are certain things that it will allow, none of which we hope to use, because hopefully we can manage this as is from this point forward. But again, it would allow certain actions to be taken by town government without convening an emergency meeting of the board. So I just want to be crystal clear with everyone at home. You're still able to drive. We're not shutting down the roads, correct, Highway Superintendent?
You're not shutting down the roads.
No shutting down the roads. Everything continues to move. We're basically just reserving the ability to take action if we deem necessary. And that's what this does. So just to be clear with everyone before I start signing this. Any questions from the
And
board?
I have a question.
Yes,
The
sir.
fire and ambulance, all services are as usual available.
Everything is
anytime,
available,
any day.
usable. We had a
Seven.
meeting just the other day with Chief Noble, all of our emergency personnel from the Yorktown Fire Department. We had Chief of the Yorktown Fire Department, Mohegan Lake Fire Department, Mohegan EMS, YVAC, essential personnel, department heads for essential personnel, just to begin putting contingency plans in place, identifying things that we may need so we can go get them now rather than being behind the eight ball. And so which we're working on. There were certain supplies that some of our first responders identified that could be useful to have in store. Operationally, we also had a conversation. Empress ambulance was there, and so And did you get that email, Chief? They sent that email about what YVAC wanted to do with the ambulance.
I was supposed to get it this morning.
This morning, okay. So we'll follow back up on that. But essentially, one of the things we discussed was having only Empress respond to any potential flu-like calls, because if YVAC responds to the calls, it ties them up for up to 4 to 6 hours
They have to decontaminate the ambulance.
to decontaminate and sanitize the ambulance. So Empress, who the town already has an existing contract with, they have ambulance all over the county. So they're able to cycle through those ambulance because we're limited on resources from YVAC's position. So YVAC would be able to respond to any non-flu or non-COVID-19 calls or emergencies, which we thought was which we wouldn't have figured out unless we had brought everyone together. So which we will do again and continue to do. So
People will still be able to call 911.
still able to call 911, still able to call the police department, still able, everything, nothing changes.
It does not affect businesses either.
Does not
which is
affect
important.
businesses. Have an order from the governor, which
Correct.
is statewide. So the capacity, you have to know your room capacity, and we have our building inspector behind us. And so you have to know your room capacity, and you are only allowed to have it half capacity at this point. That is from the governor, and it's statewide.
If there is an emergency power failure due to inclement weather, are you going to keep in contact? Because 411 will be ringing all the time, but town has a...
I think we proved 2 years ago.
Years ago, we figured that one out, right?
Chief,
We know how to roll when that happens.
But we have to
Like I
provide
said, I
the
almost wish
shelter.
that was the problem we were facing, because
Yeah.
we've been tried and tested, and we have protocols in place to deal with it. We do not have protocols in place to deal with this. We're almost learning as we go. And so I wish it was a snowstorm. I wish it was a power
the
outage.
reason-
No offense, Dave.
The reason we don't have protocol is the virus mutates so fast, and the effect is so rapid in your body, you have no time to wait. It's going to make you sick right away,
Well, Vishnu, I would ask that people write down the local phone number for the police department. This is their non-emergency number. Okay, so if you don't have power, that's an emergency to you, but it's not a life-threatening emergency. And their number is 962-4141.
Thank you, Alice. I'm just making one quick amendment to the proclamation here. Which
And if I could jump in on that.
Yes, Chief.
We tell people all the time, most people use cell phones.
Yeah.
So add us to your phone contact list. You want to put us under Y, you want to put us AAA, Yorktown Police, so we're first when you pull up your phone. This way, you know, when fear and panic sometimes grip you, you know, muscle memory, you want to take the thinking out of it, and we're right there in the phone. You don't even got to think to remember those numbers. And if I write things down, I lose them. So I put it right in my phone. So that'd be my advice. If you have a cell phone, to put us in your phone contacts.
And if their charger doesn't work, we have a number of town buildings that have generators.
We do.
So you can always walk into a town building and plug in your phone.
And also, if we get into a position where, by signing this, and we get into a position where there is power outage, we are able to open up our shelters immediately.
Yes, right.
And so it does, like, those are the things that we're going to be able to do, so we're even more prepared tomorrow or within the next 5 minutes than we were 5 minutes ago.
Now, you spoke to both superintendents. What's their situation?
Right now, we are awaiting test results pertaining to the Cortland individual and to the Yorktown individual. Those test results have not been disseminated to my knowledge. And again, that could have changed 30 seconds ago. We just don't know. And so from the information I had, I spoke with them at 8 o'clock this morning together. We were texting because they're at another meeting right now with, I think it's like 75 school superintendents, the commissioner of SED for the state education department, chancellor of the regents. So there's a very large conversation that's happening for our schools. And no news from either of them, no new news based on yesterday. So based on last night, everything is exactly the same. We await the test results for any potential next steps. That's where we are right now. Now,
And
by
we
the
are-
way, I do want to
yeah.
also state Byram Hills, for those who don't know, I received a text message last night that Byram Hills is closed until April 13th. So they closed for a month, the Byram Hills School District.
And while we're providing phone numbers, I think what you've done, Supervisor, the health department's number and that
Correct.
211, that's an excellent number for people to have because, you know, calling the police department, there's nothing we can do for you if you think you have COVID-19. So the best phone number to have is the health department and I'll
So
leave
the
that.
number so there's the state hotline, and we keep saying it, we're going to keep putting it up, 888-364-3065. I want to say it a few more times, 888-364-3065, or you can just call 211. The county has set up a hotline using the 211 number in conjunction with the Westchester Putnam United Way. So it's either 888-364-3065, that's the New York State Department of Health, or 211 for the Westchester County hotline in conjunction with the United Way.
And they have to call those numbers before they go to see a doctor.
So it's twofold. You should call your doctor first to see if they recommend you to be tested. Doctor, if it says, yes, you should be tested, you call the state hotline.
Yes.
And then you will get your direction and protocol from the state hotline. I want to reemphasize once again, local government has no role in the testing. None. Zero. We have no control. We give you no direction. That's not the protocol. The protocol is to call the state hotline, and then you get your next steps from there. What I have been told, the protocol is, if someone is being tested, they come to your house because they don't want people going to congregate in emergency rooms, urgent care centers, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So they come to your house, you get tested, there's a state trooper with them, and the trooper shoots it over to the nearest lab to be tested. Also important to know, until yesterday, we were limited in labs who were processing the tests, the state. And so the governor was able to, through his state of emergency, procure, I believe it's 26 additional labs to process the tests. And so hopefully that expedites the processing of these tests, which expedites the information gathering, which expedites the information dissemination. And so this is what we're trying to accomplish with our partners in government. In addition, I also want to let folks know in New Rochelle, the county, in conjunction with the state,
And if I-
has now a drive-through testing site. For those who don't know, there's a drive-through testing site for anyone who is in an emergency situation. Glen Island, down in New Rochelle. I believe the Journal News reported on it last night, but that's been something that the county and the state have been working on. And so that's another potential where you could be directed to go. And essentially, it's just like I said, you drive in, they swab you, drive out. No one, and you have limited interaction and contact with individuals. So those are all things that, again, our partners in government are doing, not the town of Yorktown. We do not have that purview in regards to testing protocol. So we are relying on our partners in the County Department of Health and the State Department of Health to ensure that we have a very expedited and smooth process to test any potential individuals. So I just want to make that clear.
Matt, I just wanted to bring up a point. Just as the information is very fluid, you will most likely, since there is now an increase in the amount of testing, you will see an increase in the amount of people infected with the virus. I think the percentage was a great tool that you had.
But again,
But-
snapshot in time
Right.
as of yesterday, and that
Right.
could change when the governor goes back on later today with his daily briefing.
Right, but not only that, I think it will change only because of the fact that you're testing people that have a fear of having the virus as a priority.
Exactly.
So
We're
don't-
as Dr. Hatter described it, this is we're hunting for these people right now, in a sense.
Right.
So we're trying to find people who may have come in contact with it. And so we're taking the most likely individuals, and we're still at a 14% confirmation rate out of the whole. So that is, in a sense, very reassuring.
It's important to identify these people because once they have been identified, then they can find all of the people that person might have had contact with,
Right.
and recommend that they
But
kind of.
I do want to interject real quick and just also clarify that right now, you're not being told where those I know that the individual who tested positive in the town of Yorktown is hospitalized right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah,
We don't have any other information, and by the bounds of the law, they're unable to provide it because of HIPAA.
that's HIPAA.
And so that's some of the constrictions that we find ourselves in. And again, that's why I use the word unprecedented, because we're trying to share as much information, but we're also limited on the information we're given, and we're even more limited on the information that we're legally allowed to share. So everything we're sharing is verified, accurate, and by the bounds of the law, and I have no problem committing to doing that on a daily, if not more basis as that information comes into the town. So with that being said, I am going to sign the emergency declaration here, and our town clerk, you're going to sign as witness, correct?
Clarify one thing. We have other meetings that are scheduled in this boardroom in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Are we also
be
canceling
canceling
them?
those.
So all of them,
Canceled
homeowners
as
groups and
well.
everything?
Yes, they will all be canceled.
So it will be in a newspaper or something that also cancel it on a public town website.
I think we always have to understand that above us there is a state government, and we have to incorporate those changes along with what we want to do locally. So the state government says that rooms should, if you're going to have a meeting, it should only be at whatever half the capacity is for your meeting. And generally, most people know what their capacity is. If not, John Landy, I'm looking at him right now. He is our building superintendent. You can speak with his
Our
office.
building inspector. If you have any questions, please call our building department. Again, town government is open. Employees, unless they are showing symptoms, are expected to be here. So none of that changes. Protocol and operations remain the same. Now, we do have 2 other resolutions. Okay? We have a resolution suspending meetings of volunteer entities. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have a resolution suspending March meetings of the Yorktown Town Board. I will entertain a
So
motion.
moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I think that the only other one, and Judge, you and I had a conversation about temperature screening. I don't know if we want to, considering,
Why don't we put that on
I think we
hold
can
for
reassess
now?
that at
Yeah,
this
I think
point.
we can reassess that because it probably has less of effect. with the other protocols I'm putting
Exactly.
in. So.
And then Town Clerk Quast, do you want us to pass a resolution closing the town board to all public meetings at this point? Okay, so then we will entertain a motion suspending all public meetings in town facilities.
So moved.
So moved.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And is there anything other business that we want to bring to the board at this point in time?
You know, you mentioned about only half the people. How do we have no control, but you go to the supermarket like that on a small place, there are more people in Delhi or like that at one time, or a small fast food place. So are you concerned anything like that, or they manage
Well,
their
I
own
think,
business?
and Chief Noble spoke to this yesterday, and we had the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Sergio Esposito, with us as well. I think the business community, I think it's a couple of things. One, the business community in Yorktown supports our decision. They support the policies that we're putting in place. Number two, with the governor's decree regarding capacity, they're limited now on how many people they can have in those delis, supermarkets, and establishments at the same point in time. So that needs to be adhered to, and we urge all of our small businesses and large businesses and all of our property owners to adhere to that social distancing practice that the governor has put forward.
But the other thing that I have to say is that, and you're not going to like it, is that people must take responsibility. If you look in the store and you see a whole lot of people,
Don't go
I
in.
wouldn't go in there. I'd
Don't
wait.
go in.
And
Right.
I know that sounds like it's easy, but unless it's like something that you don't get within the next 5 minutes and you're going to die, I would stay away.
Right.
I agree, Alice. It's common sense. You see something like that, you stay away, go back when there's less people, use your hand sanitizer. It's all common sense stuff at this point in time.
Very good. With that being said, if there's
Oh, I did have one more.
yes, ma'am.
I hope the comptroller's listening or watching.
Oh, she's here. She's upstairs. I spoke with her.
The town board gives you the ability to sign a contract, and I'm not sure the amount of money, and I think we need to raise that amount of money while we're in this
Discussion, yeah.
this emergency period.
Can we have Pat come down so she can explain that to us? I don't know.
I can tell you,
You can tell us, Adam?
it's up to $12,000 without board approval.
Up to $12,000 without board approval.
Without prior board approval.
Prior board approval.
I remember when in I think it was Superstorm Sandy, when you were a council person, Dave, we had to do something because we had to spend money, and the supervisor didn't have the power to spend some money. So I think we need to find for sure what that amount of money is and decide on. I would vote on increasing it during the length of
We're
the
going to get Pat
emergency.
down here while we're together before we adjourn.
We don't know what
And as an aside, a big round of applause deserves to go to the finance department because they're dealing with this situation, but the auditors, the state auditors, are here as well. So they're getting it. They're getting it on both fronts here. Adam, where did you get that number from?
That's the number that, in the resolution
Okay,
the board
thank you.
passed in the organizational meeting in January.
So that was passed in the organizational meeting. So
Yeah, I think
so
we need to. I think
we need to
we need to raise that amount of money
I would only do that under as long as
while
this
we're
is in
under
place.
the emergency.
A state of emergency. And if you have a suggested amount, we can maybe
Maybe
deliberate
double it
on
to
that. Do you want to
24?
double it?
Yeah, double it to 24 might be.
I'm going to give him 25.
Just got to round it up, huh?
Yeah.
Do I hear 30?
I say 50.
Let's hope we never have to do. Let's hope we don't even have to go down this road. But I appreciate.
Set up an emergency hotline. You've
Yeah.
got to,
You know what, David? You
24
make a lot of sense because
If you don't
remember,
use it, you don't lose it.
Right, exactly.
but you
fact
have the
is,
ability to
If you
do
don't
it.
have the ability, what's the difference if it's 24 or it's 50? If we have to set up an emergency hotline so that people can call the town directly and get the information that they need and not to burden the police department.
Hello, ma'am.
I think you need that flexibility.
We have our comptroller here, Pat Caparel.
Or if we have to buy food or something to that effect. We need money.
There's a question. Councilwoman Roker raised a question about since we have signed a proclamation for an emergency, what are our what is the level or threshold for expenditures that we're able to?
What are you buying?
We don't know what we'll need, Pat.
Hopefully
Um,
nothing. My goal is nothing.
In the event of an emergency, I mean, we don't have a procurement. An emergency is an emergency, okay? I mean, are we buying, like a generator for the sewer plant? Absolutely. If the sewer plant's going to go down, I can't let it go down.
100%. So, I think the question is, in the
I want to raise the legal limit that we're allowed, that he's allowed to.
The discretionary amount the supervisor could sign without prior resolution.
Court resolution.
You could do that, but in the event of an emergency, that isn't necessary.
There is no limit.
As a
in the-
practical
Right.
matter, with the declaration of a local state of emergency, the supervisor is authorized to do what needs to be done.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. I'm good with that. As long as he has the ability,
We don't-
so
then-
we don't have to do backflips.
and it was a great thought.
Okay.
Great thought. So, but as long as the comptroller and our town attorney are comfortable, if there are any emergency expenditures that we have to make while this is in place, we're able to do so.
Absolutely.
Then
And
that's
you
all we
will
need.
know anyway.
And it has
so-
been done before.
Thanks, Pat.
That's all we'll need. Very good.
Thank you, Pat.
Don't go away, though.
I've got some information or some questions before you adjourn.
I don't know if under emergency meetings we have courtesy of the floor, so I'd rather not. I'll speak to you next offline, if that's okay with you. Thank you, Mr. McMullen. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
The chief wanted to say something.
Oh, you want to speak?
You want to say something real quick?
Well, just to alert the public that if you do call our agency or you have an interaction with our officers, we've been asking pre-screening questions since mid-February. And in the initial stages and up until this week, it was only for people who presented with illnesses or malaise. Now, we've changed that, and any phone call that we receive where an officer may be going or responding to a residence, we are asking those questions. So anybody that does call the police department or asks to meet with an officer, unless it's a call in progress, where obviously, we've got to get there and we've got to help somebody and we can't ask those questions. But, you can expect to be, when you speak with us and you ask us to come to your residence, we are going to be asking those questions. And, on a rainy day like this, it's a little more difficult, but on days that are, blue sky days, we may ask you to, step outside and interview you outside, so as not to limit our exposure. And what I wanted to ask is that you keep, not only police, but all first responders, in mind. And like you said, Councilwoman Roker, take responsibility. Let us know, hey, look, I traveled, I came in contact with somebody who traveled, from Europe, and, I'm not sure how I feel. These are things we need to know before we try to help you. I mean, you hear me say it all the time, help us help you. Please, do it.
And you're not going to spread that around if they're worried about their neighbors knowing it, you're not going to go and tell their neighbors
I don't
or
think
whatever.
he actually legally right now cannot because it's a HIPAA violation in some aspects.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's what
people
being-
are.
We're pretty good
afraid
at
of
keeping
neighbors.
secrets.
Yeah, I know you are.
But yeah, and like I said, and we'll always try to help you out. I mean, but there is things that, obviously we can't do. If you're nervous, you're scared, you can always call us. But, like Highway Superintendent Paganelli said, we don't want to tie up our resources. You know what I mean? And and my desk officers and dispatchers, they're just doing a tremendous job taking all these calls and looking out for all of us when we respond. And, it's from top to bottom. Everybody's a team effort there. We're on the front lines out there. So I'm looking to keep my people safe, and we're looking to keep everybody in the town healthy and as safe as possible. So, and to Keith and Marcel over there at headquarters, they're doing a great job too,
They are.
cleaning up and
Staff,
keeping us all healthy.
I
So,
said it before, I'll say it again. Local government has been tremendous. Our staff has been tremendous. And we will continue to lead from the front. And that's how we're going to do things in Yorktown. That's how we've done things in Yorktown. And with that being said, if anyone has any questions, you can call the police department. You can call Town Hall, 914-962-5722, 914-962-5722. Or you can always email me directly at mslater@yorktownny.org. Thank you very much, everyone.
Right.
Sorry, I missed one.